Audio Renaissance presents Imperial Ambitions, Conversations on the Post-9/11 World. Interviews with David Barsamian and Noam Chomsky. Cambridge, Massachusetts, March 22nd, 2003.
What are the regional implications of the U.S. invasion and occupation of Iraq?
I think not only the region, but the world in general perceives it correctly as a kind of an easy test case to try to establish a norm for the use of military force, which was declared in general terms. Last September, the National Strategy Report was issued, presenting a somewhat novel and unusually extreme doctrine on the use of force in the world. And it's hard not to notice that the drumbeat for war in Iraq coincided with that, also coincided with the onset of the midterm congressional campaign. All of these are tied together. When the new doctrine was a doctrine not of preemptive war, which arguably falls within some stretching of the UN Charter, but rather of something that doesn't even begin to have any grounds in international law, namely preventive war. The doctrine, you recall, was that the United States would rule the world by force, and that if there is any challenge perceived to its domination, challenge perceived in the distance, invented, imagined, whatever, then the U.S. will have the right to destroy that challenge before it becomes a threat. That's preventive war, not preemptive war. And if you want to declare a doctrine, a powerful state has the capacity to create what is called a new norm. So if India invades Pakistan to put an end to monstrous atrocities, that's not a norm. But if the United States bombs Serbia on dubious grounds, that's a norm. That's what power means. So if you want to establish a new norm, you have to do something. And the easiest way to do it is to select a completely defenseless target, which can be completely overwhelmed by the most massive military force in human history. However, in order to do that credibly, at least to your own population, you have to frighten them. So the defenseless target must be, you have to create from it an awesome threat to survival, which was responsible for September 11th and is about to attack us again, and so on and so forth. And that was indeed done in a really spectacular propaganda achievement, which will go down in history, no doubt. From September, the same time, there was a massive effort which substantially succeeded to convince Americans alone in the world that Saddam Hussein is not only a rotten monster, but also a threat to existence. And by now, about half the population even believes that he was responsible for September 11th. So all this falls together. You have the doctrine pronounced. You have a norm established in a very easy case. The population is driven into a panic and alone in the world believes fantasies of this kind, and therefore is willing to support military force in self-defense. And if you believe those things, it really is self-defense. So that's it's kind of like a textbook example of aggression with the purpose of extending the scope of further aggression. So once the easy case is handled, you can move on to think of harder cases. Those are the main reasons why so much of the world is overwhelmingly opposed to the war. I mean, it's not just the attack in Iraq. Many people at least perceive it correctly as exactly the way it's intended, as a firm statement that you had better watch out, we are on the way. That's why the United States is now regarded as the greatest threat to peace in the world by a large number of people, probably the vast majority of the population.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?